I really think that women were created in such a soft and tender way. But notice I said soft, not weak. I have this gift that women, we can impact any room we're in, and it doesn't mean we have to be the loudest, hold the highest title. It's just through how God made us that we use those gifts.
It's our influence.
Yes.
All right, we are in Dallas, your hometown.
Yes.
We got the Parrs, Jennifer and Allan Parr on our set. I don't know what you call this. Is this a set?
It's a set.
Makeshift set.
Makeshift set.
It's pretty cool. Before we even start, since we're in Dallas, I got to ask something. Are you Cowboy fans?
Absolutely not.
No.
What?
I thought you had to be.
Wrong way to start off the interview.
No, really?
I'm originally from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Oh,
I'm
you're
a Steelers fan.
Steelers.
Yeah, born and
Really?
raised. It's in my blood.
Ben Roethlisberger, you know?
Oh, yes.
You know the famous story about Ben Roethlisberger?
No, I probably
It's
don't.
famous. Everybody in the world knows this story.
Okay, well then maybe
He
I'm not
broke
a
all
fan.
my high school records at my high school.
Oh, I think
True
I remember
story.
you
I think
saying
you
that.
said
Yeah,
that
okay.
last
Put that on
time.
there. Keep that on there. We're going to roll with that.
Okay.
And Antonio Brown played with our son in college. So anyway, we like the
Oh,
Steelers.
remember that.
Okay.
You know, not this year, but we like the Steelers and Russell Wilson and the whole thing.
Yeah.
Are we going to talk football the whole time?
No,
what do you think?
because this set looks different because we're at NRB, which is,
National Religious Broadcasters.
and so this is a makeshift set. And we knew you guys were here. We're like, we want to interview Jennifer and Allan again because you guys have been on with us before and you're fantastic. When you were in the studio the last time, Jennifer, you were sharing some dreams that you had.
Yes, I was in a pivotal season where I came home about 2 years prior to seeing you all last year. And I was just in this season where I was asking God, like, I'm no longer working in corporate America. You've called me home just to be more present, a present wife, a present mom, just a better human in general. Give me a little bit more capacity. But in the midst of that season, it was like, God, how will I be able to use these gifts that you've given me to continue to thrive, even in my home? And I mentioned to you that I've had to unlearn so many things as a woman and what success looks like. From success that I had in my corporate job to now what success looks like at home. So out of that, through these learnings, there's like just a desire that's been birthed about redefining success for women and what that looks like. So I put my heart into it, and I've got a podcast called Winning Women Podcast. That's the new change.
That's exciting. Allan, what did you think about all that?
I was
Because
so-
your podcast is pretty big.
Yeah.
I looked at it this morning, actually.
Oh,
You know,
thank
I mean,
you.
are you posting every week?
Every week, every Tuesday. Matter
Okay.
of fact, there's a new one coming out today.
And
So
it's called, the podcast is called.
Yeah, so it's actually a YouTube channel. I guess, it's a video podcast,
Yeah.
if you will. It's called The Beat with Allan Parr, which stands for Biblical Encouragement and Truth. And so we release new videos every Tuesday, whether it's apologetic, whether it's overviews of books of the Bible, relationship advice from a Christian perspective, theology, answering questions about the Bible. So
All things.
You
Yeah.
cover it all, and if I'm not incorrect, you have over 1 million people watching.
yeah, by the grace of God,
That's
God's
amazing.
been very faithful. Yes.
Yeah, and I'm looking at all the comments. They get engaged.
They get very interesting.
We don't even look at the comments. No,
Sometimes.
we do,
Depends
we
on
do.
what type
It
of mood I'm in.
depends.
How
We
much I
stopped
can
that
handle
a long
it.
time ago.
Yes.
Now,
yes.
Allan, when Jennifer came out of the workplace into the home,
Yeah.
was that something you were excited about? Was that a transition? Was that easy? I mean, even talk marriage and family. Your kids are probably little at that time.
Yeah,
Yes,
they were.
very.
So how
Yeah.
did that transition go?
Well, I would always tell people if they're considering this that it needs to be something that both the husband and the wife consider together, but it also can't be, in my opinion, something that the woman feels forced to do or feels obligated. What was beautiful about our situation is that Jennifer felt this strong need and calling to come home, which is very interesting, and she can share more about that because she loved her job.
Yeah.
She absolutely loved her job. It's one thing to come home whenever you don't like your job and you're just like, I just want to get out of here. But she really loved her job and was really thriving in it as well. But trying to be a great corporate person, trying to be a great wife to me as our ministry was growing and she was wanting to support me. Our kids at the time were 3 and 4, just in that pivotal stage, getting into daycare and things like that. And so it was it was a lot, and the Lord really put it on your heart to say, "Hey, I need to be present."
Yeah.
I mean, for you, Jennifer, was it easier or harder?
Absolutely not. As Allan said, I loved my job, and I think it's hard for us, just in general, not even just as women, but in general, to surrender something that we've worked so hard to do.
Yes. And we get a lot of our identity from that.
Yes, I did, which was what made that season so hard.
Yeah.
I think when you've worked so hard for something, whether that is to reach a certain status level, to reach a class level, a financial level. And for me, I went to school for communications, and I finally landed a job that it was my dream job. And
At your dream company, too.
At my dream company.
It's everything.
It was everything. And so when you feel that tug from God, and you feel that something stirring up, it's hard to be like, but you gave me this, and now you don't want me to thrive in this area. And so I wrestled with that thought for about a year. And that's why I say it's not easy. I will never sit here and say like, oh yeah, I just heard from God, and next thing it was like, I'm coming home.
Even the financial sacrifice.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was something that we had to consider as well, which
I love
is
how Allan jumped right in on that one.
yeah, because she was doing well, and that was something that we had to consider. But it's amazing how we've learned this lesson so many times that whenever you are obedient to do what the Lord has called you to do, sometimes it doesn't even take him very long to show, like, see, I've got you, right? And so what's so interesting is shortly after she left her job, the Lord blessed us in a couple of ways financially that basically showed us that, hey, we've got you. We're going to make up the difference here. And because we had our insurance through her, because our ministry was, we had insurance through her company, which was really, really good. And we had to, forego all of that. But it's been, to me, it's been life changing for our family, because she has completely and thoroughly thrived in this role of motherhood and supporting me, and you're not as stressed anymore. You're sleeping now.
It's a different kind of stress.
Yeah, but you're actually sleeping now. Before, you were not sleeping. You struggled with insomnia big time. She couldn't
Because you're thinking about the job.
Yeah, she couldn't turn her brain off.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's actually been a sweet invitation into a softer life, which I really think that women were created in such a soft and tender way. When we're given the opportunity to operate from that space, it just lines up with creation and how God created women.
And just hearing that word, some women are instantly like, I'm strong. What are you talking about, soft?
Well,
Don't
define
put
it.
me. Yeah, that's what I think is really important, because women can bristle. And we'll talk about that.
When she says women, she means her.
No. I'm just...
No, I mean some women, but you definitely have a sense of,
because of the definition.
Yeah.
And I know what your definition is, and I am all in with you.
But notice I said soft, not weak.
That's it.
And
That's what I mean.
I think there's a difference.
Me too.
That's the difference. And that's where it's not like if you're soft, you're not weak.
Yeah.
And it's not even that if you're softer, you're not strong.
And it doesn't mean you don't have a voice.
Exactly.
It's just using it in a way that can be heard.
Right.
Instead of so powerful that you're dominating everything.
Yeah.
And I've even seen how leaning into that softness, I think the softness of a woman really balances the toughness of a man. And Allan, he has always been a leader, always been a provider, always just been so strong in my eyes. But I noticed that the more I lean into letting him thrive in that, it allows me to thrive just the way God created me. Once again, not weak, but it's like, I have this gift that women, we can impact any room we're in, and it doesn't mean we have to be the loudest, hold the highest title. It's just through how God made us that we use those gifts.
It's our influence.
It's our influence.
It's the power of influence.
Yes.
Changes everything.
Hey, Allan, you and I could probably leave. They're just going to have a conversation.
Yeah. Hey, let's go get some barbecue, right?
I know a place.
I got a few
Dave,
places.
I mean, because, and we just mentioned, like, we have a book coming out. You've seen the same thing, because there's a reason why we as women have to remain powerful or strong. And I think it's out of fear.
Talk about that. What do you mean?
Do you think some of that comes out of fear?
It's out of fear. It's also out of control. We
And why do we control?
Because we fear, we don't trust.
Yes.
And then it roots even deeper into anxiousness.
Yes.
And because we're anxious about the outcome of something or what the potential outcome could be. I mean, that's why I held on so long, was because I was anxious about, well, how is our family going to do? I mean, what if something happens to Allan? And what if I just held on to all these fears and anxiousness? And that limited not only him thriving, but it limited me from just trusting God. God's like, I didn't give you all this for you to make this an idol. I gave you all this to be successful how I created you, but successful by trusting me. The success comes through me, not the job, not all the different things that we put our titles, our worth in.
And I can understand, too, where some women are feeling that, the angst, because like I led a Detroit Lions Wives Bible study for 35 years. And so often these women were incredible, gifted, but if they didn't, like I remember talking to one woman in our Bible study, and she said, I have got to get my law degree. I've got to get it. And I said, I feel like you're anxious about it. You're feeling that. She said, yes, because as a woman, I know that my husband might leave. And so I have to be able to provide for my family financially. Have you seen that too? Of that, like, but what if I'm the one that becomes the provider? I need to stay in this position.
And that's why, if you notice, I said, like, not weak. I think women, we can thrive. We have gifts, we have skills that we can use. And if I ever were called to go back to work, it would just look different. I would have a more surrender-driven success. Where I am surrendering this opportunity to work maybe outside the home, but I just don't ever want to change my priorities again.
Right.
See, when I was working, my job was my priority. And that came before, if I'm being honest, spending time with God, spending time with my husband, spending time with my family. That was the
Taking care of
priority.
yourself, too.
Taking care of even myself.
That's good.
You.
So I do think that God does call us sometimes to use our gifts and work and provide, but we just have to, the posture of our heart and how we do it has to be surrender driven and not success driven.
Yes.
Yeah. And I want to add one thing too. I think every woman has a different capacity as well that we have to consider. I mean, some women are able to do some things differently, you know, and I think every woman has to, every man too, for that matter, has to consider what is my capacity, right? If you have a certain capacity where you can handle lots of different things, then, you know, you might be able to do some other things, make some other decisions. But I just know that season, you were really drowning. I mean, you weren't taking care of yourself mentally, physically, emotionally. And I mean, you will admit that you just, you know, but now that you're in this season, like you're able to go on walks in the morning, get your mind ready, you're able to exercise, you're eating healthy, you're sleeping, you're getting 8 hours of sleep.
Sleeping.
Like, yeah, I mean, you're taking care of yourself, which enables you to be your best self, to be able to take care of others.
Yeah.
I mean, was some of that you were working before you had kids, and then you had kids, or
Yes,
Yeah, she's
yes.
always
that
worked.
adds-
I've always worked.
Yeah.
I mean, I think when you're single, you know, you're using your strengths and your gifts and your education in ways that, you know, you want to thrive. It's just when you're called to give that up, can you?
Yeah.
I think that's the hard thing.
Yeah.
And that's why when I felt led to do that, a lot of the women in my family who are just strong women, they strongly encouraged me not to.
They did?
Yeah, because one, they they worked and they were all those fears and anxieties, like what if something happens to Allan, or what if this,
Some
or
of them
what
were
if
the
that?
main providers,
They're
too.
the main
Some of them.
providers.
Yeah.
Yes. But what I've seen success now just in how our kids are growing and how they have a present. Not only do they have a present mom, they have a present father too.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm able to support us and support our ministry in ways now where he can fully lock in and then he can step away and be a great father. And so it's been just good for our family.
That's cool.
But it was very isolating because a lot of the women that I know were like, why would you want to do that? As if success cannot be found in just being present. being present for your family, having your kids have a very present mom, being available to pour into your husband. I mean, that's success. It's
I
a different
think
kind of success.
It's that power we have as women. We create an atmosphere in our home. And when we do, and I think our kids and our husband can feel it when it feels healthy.
Yes.
Yes.
I want you guys to talk about it, because as we talk about, because you know that I'm strong. But
she's a little bit strong.
idea-
And I love it.
Trust me, I understand. Yeah.
So when
soft but strong.
Yeah,
Yes.
so when
That
you
doesn't
hear
mean
the
not strong.
Exactly.
Like you said,
I
it doesn't mean
understand,
weak.
Dave.
But I also feel like for you, and I'm sure you both felt the same thing, there were times where as a mom, especially of young kids, you struggle with, this is all I do.
You're right.
I'm not doing, like I used to be productive, and now I'm home changing diapers and making meals.
It's awful in terms of, it's wonderful, but it's awful in terms of when the enemy gets in your ear and says,
Right.
what are you doing?
Right.
Where are your gifts being
Especially when
used?
your
Like,
husband's out there crushing it,
Yes.
writing
Like,
books,
yeah, he just-
preaching, and
And other
walking in his
women
purpose.
other moms are,
yeah,
Yeah.
I can feel like here
So
I
how do you
am.
two deal with that? Either one of you. I mean, for you, Jennifer, did you feel at any time, I used to be productive. Now I'm in a family room picking up Cheerios. You know what I mean?
And grapes.
Because that's part
and
of your daily
goldfish
deal.
and
Goldfish,
pizza
exactly.
stains and all that. That's why I said, I think there also is a misconception that like softer life, quote unquote, means an easier
Yeah,
life.
and it's not.
No,
Right.
it's just we're working in a different capacity.
Yeah.
And it's easy to think that's not success. Like
Yeah.
this is, my value isn't being added here.
Yeah.
I'm not contributing. And then even to go further, think of all the praise and affirmation we get outside of the home.
Right,
when we
right.
step outside the home and we go to that job, it feels good to be affirmed, right? Our kids weren't being like, "Mommy, you're doing great."
And even if they did, I don't know if it would mean as much. You don't feel it as
No,
much.
yeah.
But that goes into the identity aspect,
Yes.
though. And
Yeah.
so many of us, I mean, whether it's male or female, I mean,
Right.
we do get our identity oftentimes from what we do.
Absolutely.
And I can say the same thing, even from ministry, being on YouTube. It's
Yeah.
like, I feel great whenever I do a video that gets
Yeah.
200, 300,000 views. But if
Right.
it gets 30,000 views, I'm like, hey, man, I kind of suck today.
And
What's
those are
going
the
on with
ones
that?
that are the
I only got 30,000 views.
But those are the
I
deep
know.
theological ones too. That
I know.
are
Those are the
important.
ones that like, you should be watching this. This is good. But then if
Yeah.
I do something about Taylor Swift and her recent album, it's like 700,000 views. I'm like, what's going on with this?
Right.
Right? You don't need to be watching this. You need to be watching the book of Hebrews. And you know what I mean? You need to be growing. But that's just an example of how sometimes our identity
Yeah.
can be wrapped up in what we do or vanity metrics or the
Absolutely.
affirmation that we get.
And for a mom, there's not even that.
Right.
I'm at home, like I would come home sometimes, say, yeah, I had lunch with these guys, and Ann be like, that'd be nice.
What was
lunch.
it like to sit at a
Sit at a
lunch
restaurant,
and have
you
an
know?
adult conversation?
Nice.
What was that like?
And eat real
Right.
food.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Well, and I think we both have had to silence the noise, the outside noise, because if I continue to look at what the world says is successful for women, right?
Yeah.
I will constantly feel like a failure. And so we feel that pressure, and then even for you,
Same thing, yeah. If I look at what success looks like for a Christian YouTuber, I'd be like, wow, okay, then I need to start doing all viral content, all trendy content, because that's what gets views, whereas I see success as, do the people that watch the content actually get something from it, not how many people watch it, so I have to redefine that as well.
I think what you're saying is, what is God calling you to do?
Yes.
What is He
exactly.
asking you to step into?
Specifically you.
Yeah, and
Yes.
then to be obedient to what He calls you to do, because
Exactly.
that's the hard part.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I wanted to get back to the softness of women. For you two guys, is that attractive? Like, what happens when Jennifer is strong? Have you guys ever gone through a phase in your marriage where, like, she is just super strong?
Oh, yeah.
he calls it spicy.
Oh, yes. Yes.
You're being spicy. Okay?
Yes, absolutely. We have what we call intense fellowships,
Intense fellowships.
every so often, and I think that
Which is common. It's normal.
Yeah.
Even when you're soft, you're still going to have those hard conversations.
Yes, absolutely. I think for me, and I would probably say for most men, I think I don't ever mind whenever she wants to share her perspective on things. It's just about how she goes about doing that sometimes, and if it gets spicy, and if it gets to be where it's escalated, tone starts getting higher. Because she'll tell you I'm very much kind of even keeled when it comes to communication.
Yeah.
Rarely do I yell. Rarely do I get
Sometimes I just need a good response.
Yeah.
Right?
But
We're
I
poking
try
the
to
bear.
stay very kind of, but my wife here can sometimes get animated.
Passionate.
Passionate.
That's a good word.
That's a good word.
Passionate. So to answer your question, I personally appreciate the softer approach because it de-escalates our intense fellowships.
A gentle answer turns away
Proverbs
wrath.
15:1. That's one of my favorite verses. Yes, and it should be yours too.
Well, I mean, if we look at a few of our intense fellowships, and one thing that we always encourage, and we love how your ministry is just also for marriages, is that we have a healthy relationship where we see a marriage counselor just to help us navigate this. And in those sessions, I realized, okay, is it about winning the argument or is it about making sharing my point, but I never want to dishonor or disrespect my husband.
Yeah.
And I learned that while sometimes we think it's important to get our point across, how we do that and the end result is not worth it. If it leaves with your husband feeling disrespected, if it leaves with just an unhealthy tension, and if I'm honest, when I get to those levels that he talks about, I don't feel good about myself afterwards, right? So it's like, did I win the argument? But then now I feel like I don't feel good. And I just don't think that's a healthy communication style specifically for women. I just think that our words are so powerful. Our words can influence and impact the space, and how we use those words is valuable.
Yeah. Which is true for men, too.
Very,
how we
yeah.
use our words, how we communicate. It makes a huge difference.
Yes.
It's good for our kids to see it done in a good way.
I mean, how about the wife that's listening or watching and says, but I'm married to a pretty passive guy. He's not leading. He doesn't initiate spiritual things in our home.
He's not bringing in enough money for me to stay at home.
Yeah, I mean, again, that's, the other side of this is the pushback to the woman's like, well, both of you guys are married to, it looks like they're pretty strong men. They lead pretty strong and you're pretty satisfied with how they do that. My guy isn't that guy. And I've been on him to do that for years and it's not working. So somebody's got to do this.
Right.
So it's me.
Yeah.
What do you say to that woman that says, I don't want to be soft. I've tried soft. Nothing happens in our
He
house.
never hears me if I'm soft. That's why I have to be loud.
Oh, that's a hard one. That really is. And I have some friends that are in that situation, and that's why I think when I talk about just softness, and Allan spoke about just our capacity, I think as long as you all come to an agreement together, because sometimes maybe there's a reason that he is that way. Maybe it wasn't modeled for him. He doesn't know what leadership looks like, and we as women may not be the right people to teach him that. It may not be our job to be like, well, you can't do, all right, I'm going to show you what it means to lead a household.
Our attitude is everything. And we so easily do it just like that. Like, oh, well, if you're not leading, I guess I'll have to do it again.
Sounds like Jezebel in the Bible.
Can I be honest?
No, don't be honest.
I mean, we think it,
Yeah.
and
Really
I think
honest.
it's natural for women to think that. I mean, there's times where we talk about this is the timing of when we bring things up. I may see something and be like, okay, he's not handling that well, but is that the time to tell him? Or is that the time for me to be like, let me show you how it's done? And I've done that before, and it's never ended well.
I don't know if we said this on Family Life today, but we put it in our book. It's coming out in May because it's how to speak life without yelling. We had this illustration where I had some friends coming in for Detroit Lions.
Oh, we put this in the book.
It's in the book.
It's so embarrassing. I'm
this
just
is
sorry
exactly what you're saying.
beforehand
These
what you're
friends
saying.
are coming in for Detroit Lions game, and I booked them this hotel, and it's a Saturday, I think. They get to the hotel, and they call me, and they go, hey, there's no rooms. Like, what do you mean? They don't have rooms for us. And it's like 3 or 4 rooms.
I think you had even called beforehand to make sure.
So I call over to the hotel. Hey, just stay right here. I'll call them right now. We'll get this figured out.
Right.
And I'm on the phone, and the girl's like, I'm sorry, sir. We don't have any phone. She starts, this is back before cell phones.
I would be doing the same
She is
thing.
following me around the house with this long cord. Give me the phone.
I can
Give me the
already
phone.
see where this is going.
You would do that?
Yes.
Yes.
You
Well, I
would-
finally gave her the
I am
phone.
like, I'm whispering, give me the phone.
Yes, because now
Give
you're
me the phone.
now you're in execution mode. You're
Yes.
like, let me handle it.
And
Let
you
me
talk
take
about
I'm
over.
thinking-
control.
Get it
There it
done.
was.
This is what I'm thinking.
know.
I will get this done. He is way too nice.
I was being nice,
He's
and
way
I-
too nice, and I know how to. I'll
tell
close
him-
the
tell him
deal.
how it ended.
You
I
guys,
gave her
this
the
is
phone.
awful. I keep
Oh,
saying.
so you gave her the phone.
No, he didn't give me.
Oh,
the phone.
you took the
He
phone.
threw it on the floor.
Yeah, I think I threw it on the floor. It was, she was
He
badgering
threw
me.
the floor. He threw the phone on the floor, and then
And it sprung back to the wall because it had
So-
a cord.
And
You know,
then
that's back
he
when it was.
walks out of the room, and he said, "Can I say this?"
No, she tries to get the room. She gets on
No,
the
wait,
hotel.
wait. I have to say what you said when you left the room.
No, this was after you didn't get it.
No, you said it right when you walked
spoiler
out.
alert.
No,
Spoiler
you
alert.
said, he says, why don't you just cut it off, Ann? And he threw down the phone.
Maybe this needs to be edited for
No,
PG-13.
no,
No,
this
but
is.
this is real.
But
This
that's
is real.
what it felt like. You just
That's
took away my
so
manhood.
I
real.
You
was
just-
feeling that guilt of like, but I thought, but don't worry, I'll get the room and that'll make up for it all.
And she didn't get the room.
I didn't get it.
There was no
I
room
was
booked.
so convicted. I mean,
Yep.
I just thought, was that worth it?
And that's my
There
point.
you go.
Let's say you
Yeah.
did get the
You
room.
know, it's good to know there's
Would
other
it-
women like
would
that.
it
That's
have
different.
been-
Look at Alan. It's like,
100%.
yeah.
Look.
As soon as she sees that I might be, it's like, let me step in, let me take a. And see, what's so interesting is there's this interesting dynamic in marriage. From a man's perspective, it's always she's trying to control me.
Yeah.
From her perspective, it's I'm trying to help.
Yeah.
You guys need to write a book about
Exactly.
that, right? What's the
Yeah, we
difference
did.
between control and help?
Yeah.
Because it feels like control from our perspective,
Right.
but you're just thinking, but I just see an opportunity to help.
Or
And I'm
or
like,
helping us be
Yes.
better.
yeah.
Yes,
But,
but I love that you shared that because that's real. I
It
think
is.
most women would think that like we don't even look at it as like we can get it done. It's just like he may be struggling. How can we help? Just
But
take
to me,
over.
what I've
comes off to
realized-
us
and it
as-
comes
as
off
if,
as takeover.
like you don't
Yeah.
trust, you don't
Yes.
trust us.
And it,
Yeah.
Yes.
To handle
What
it.
it is
Or
on
we
my
trust
part,
it to be done better.
it's pride. Absolute pride. Like, get out of here. Let me get this part done.
Right.
And I think this is my year of God just revealing so much pride of thinking,
I'm liking this year.
I know
It's
how to
pretty
do the
fun.
relationship. I know what the kids need. I know. And
Better communicator.
who's that sound like?
Yeah.
The enemy?
Me.
Yeah.
But is there, because we talked about this even on the flight coming down here, is there a thing like in the culture, or even if you try to interpret Genesis in the garden, is there a thing where men tend to be more passive, women tend to be more prideful or controlling?
I think it depends from relationship to relationship
It does,
because
doesn't it?
I know
It's not
some
a
other
human
men.
DNA.
I know some other men that are nothing but passive, and I wouldn't consider myself in any way, shape, or form passive at all.
Absolutely.
I'm more even in how I communicate.
Yeah.
But I'm nothing. I don't have a passive bone in my
Oh,
body at all.
no.
But I'm also not gonna get on the phone with somebody and just like yell and scream and take over. Like I'm gonna get it done.
Yeah,
but
the
In a
way
different
you're
way.
able to, the way he gets
Dave,
things
too.
done.
Yes. It's
In the
genius.
most, I'm just like,
Did you
Yes.
say genius?
Yeah, I did.
wow.
I said
that.
I mean,
Okay, thank you.
result driven with like 10,000 less words than I would have used.
yeah, I could get it
And
done.
The end result is still he gets it done.
Yeah.
And so to that mom or that wife who wants to lean in, right? Wants to take over. Husband is not providing. She just wants to take charge. Like what we said, I think that it is healthy to have a conversation. Why? Because one, just to approach our husbands and tell them, hey, I'm thinking about stepping up in this area. What are your thoughts about that? That takes a lot of humility instead of just doing it, right? That's one thing I've learned. I would just do it because I thought it was going to be done better. But now I ask Allan, like, hey, what do you think about this? And then that gives him an opportunity to be like, well, now he has to kind of check his pride, and be like, well, I don't know.
That sounds soft.
That's the softness.
That's beautiful, the way you just
That's
described
the
that.
softness.
Yeah, and I was going to add one other thing. I think to your question about, how does the woman handle it when she wants her man to do
Yeah.
these types of things? I think there's a different approach when the woman has the desire for her man to do all these things, but he does not have the desire.
Or expectations.
Or even expectation versus the woman has the desire to do all these things, and the man does too. He just doesn't know how. For instance,
Yes.
if she says, "I really want you to be the spiritual leader of our home," and he's like, "I want that too. I just don't know how," then it's a different approach because now she's got to be like, "Okay, well, maybe are you willing to read this book? Are you willing to meet with Brother John from church who's doing this, who maybe he can mentor you or help you, or maybe we can have some discussions or maybe whatever." And so that way it's like, how can I guide him to become what he wants to be and what I want him to be, which is a spiritual leader of our home. If you have a guy that has no interest in that, then those situations might be where the woman has to step up and do some things. And I don't think there's anything wrong. You may have to lead the Bible studies in the home with the kids. You may have to lead family devotion because he has no interest in it, and the kids and the family can't suffer because the man is passive spiritually.
Right.
So it's a different approach.
And I think too, Ellen, the way we say that as wives, like maybe you could talk to Pastor John or whatever.
Sometimes
they
that
would be like,
yeah, that pushes
now
them
you're
off
telling me
more.
what to do.
Yeah.
Okay.
A lot of men are against that for some
They're
reason.
against.
That's pride, though.
How
That's
do
pride.
we tell our women?
But the way we say it as women, when I look at if a man's passive, and this is what my passion is, I think so many men and women are insecure. But as you said, Alan, sometimes I have expectations of Dave. He didn't even have a dad around to show what it was like to not only be a father, but he never saw a spiritual father.
Same
He has
with me.
no idea how
Same
to
with
do
me.
it.
Yeah.
And so for me, what I did do is like, I would compare him like, hey, Steve Andrews is reading the Bible every night to his kids.
Yeah.
That worked really good.
I used to do
That did
that.
not
You
work.
compare it.
No.
I'm trying to motivate.
And that made it
No.
worse.
And you're thinking that it's
Yes.
going to like give
Yeah.
us an example, but
Yeah.
then it's
Oh,
like, well, so
I
go
want-
marry him then.
Yeah, exactly.
Go marry him.
He said, maybe you should have married him.
Right. Yeah, that doesn't work.
And so-
that's
Or
like us
sometimes
comparing
we
you
do
to
it-
our mothers. Yeah, my mom used to cook every day, and she used to cook these great meals. And how come you only cook once a week? How would that make you feel? You know? Yeah, my mom stayed home and she got all the laundry done. There was never piles of
soft right
laundry
now. Did you
in the
put it
house.
back
My
in the
mom did
drawers?
all of that. How about you, honey?
Well, we did that in our marriage.
We did that early on.
Because I'd be like, well, I never took the trash out growing up. My dad did that. Like, I mean, why am I taking the trash out?
Well, first of all, I take the trash out.
I used
Make
to.
sure everybody
But
who
that's
hears
why-
this knows that I do. I
Now,
take the.
in the beginning of our marriage, like, you know.
It was more so like stuff like
Comparing,
getting.
yeah, so
Totally.
I think we both do that, and
Yeah.
we found that, like you said, it leads to that. Well, go be with that person. Not
Yeah.
that we mean it, but it.
So
just,
how do you
Wait.
ladies
Let me
do
finish
it?
that because I think when we as women can speak life to our husbands
Yes.
and say the things that we think that they would be good at, like, and I really think this, if we can capture the things our husbands are doing well or great, notice them and say those instead of the negative, that's motivating.
And that's what I was gonna say is that I think that in these situations, we're both dealing with pride, insecurity,
Yes.
sometimes even realization. Like when our spouses bring things to us, we're like, I didn't realize that, right? And so it's an opportunity to encourage each other. I don't think we have to fix each other. I don't
That's
think
it.
we're
You
the
can't.
solution, but we point them, we guide them, we pray for them, we speak life into each other. We see the good that they have, and then let the Lord kind of heal those
Yeah.
other wounds that are there. But I don't think we need to control and take, like, we're the surgeon. We're
Yeah.
not the surgeon.
Because it'll
God
make our
is.
husbands become more passive.
Exactly.
And more resentful.
Exactly.
So guys, if...
Oh, I had a question,
Wait,
but go ahead.
No, wait.
I'm being soft.
Don't forget it.
No, I
No,
got
that
it.
would be passive, right?
That would be
That would be passive.
No, what's your question,
Well,
man?
you know what?
I don't
I'm
even
gonna take
remember now.
over because that's what I'm supposed to do. No, go ahead.
Right.
No, do you want to do
No,
it?
let me serve you. Go. No.
I don't even remember
See,
that.
now,
Go ahead.
now he's modeling.
Well, you remember yours, so go ahead.
No, mine was the other side of, if the man is dominating and really over controlling. Like before, I was saying, well, he doesn't want to lead or he isn't leading. How do you
Yeah.
encourage him to do it? But what if it's the opposite and it feels like he's saying, you should be submissive. You should be obeying everything I say.
Unhealthy.
This is what the Bible teaches, which
That's
is
a
a
good
misunderstanding of that.
Right.
But he's too strong and he's pushing her down. And the wife may feel like, well, I'm supposed to that's what Christian women do.
Yeah.
What do you say to those women?
I would like Alan to answer that
Yeah.
if you don't mind,
Yeah,
because I know
talk to
that
the guy
that's
first,
a
then.
man.
Yeah,
talk
I
to the
want to
guy
know
first.
Talk to the guy.
what you
Yeah,
guys
Go
you
get him,
formulate
Alan.
your perspective on what you say to the women. But I would say that man has an extremely faulty understanding of what it means to lead. You know, if we want to see what it means to lead, we look at Jesus, none other than Jesus. Jesus was a servant leader.
Yeah.
And he led by serving. He led by
washed their feet.
sacrificing, right?
Yeah.
And so when we think about, washing feet and things
Yeah.
like that. So this idea, I was told early on in my marriage, if you ever have to pull rank and you have to quote scriptures like, hey, you need to submit to me, you're not leading.
Wow.
Right? Because
That's
if you're
good.
leading with love
Yeah.
and you're loving your wife as Christ loved the church, according to Ephesians 5, most women are generally going to want to follow that type of man who's leading in that way. But when you're leading from a domineering perspective and you're telling her what to do and you're not considering her feelings, you're not considering her opinion, that's walking in pride.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good. I think what I was going to ask you guys is that if a wife was badgering her husband, like, you need to go do this or be with Pastor John, how could we say that if our husbands aren't spiritually leading or doing things at our home? What would be the most appropriate, biblical, and appealing way for us to encourage you guys? Like, if you're not leading in any way spiritually, or even really care spiritually what's going on in the home.
I defer to Allan.
All right, I can answer that.
Yeah.
I've got a thought, but I'm going to let
Good.
you go first.
Yeah, I mean, I think this type of conversation really needs to be led with a lot of questions, right?
Oh, that's
instead of saying, "Hey," I think it needs to start off with, "What are your thoughts about being a spiritual leader of our home?" Let him explain what that looks like, right? Because a lot of times when we lead with questions, it gives us information to figure out where to take the rest of the conversation.
God and Jesus did that a lot.
Yes, exactly. You know, so if he says, well, I don't want to become spiritually over home, then now you know, oh, okay, well, then we need to go in a different approach. But if he says, yeah, I mean, I know that's something I need to do. I've been convicted about it. I want to. I just don't know how. And then the next thing is not to say is, well, let me tell you how.
Yeah.
The next question is, are you open to exploring some ways, or you know, are you open to exploring some possible ways that, you know, you could be the spiritual leader of our home, or what does that look like to you?
Or is there anything I can do to help?
Yes, yeah. Let him kind of ease into it.
Yeah, that's
before
good.
we just come right in with, okay, you need to meet with Pastor John, you need to read this book, because then it feels like, okay, now I'm taking orders from her,
telling,
right?
yes.
Yeah.
And I think that's the soft approach, is after he realizes he needs the help, then you come in with, well, you know, have you considered maybe that, you know, there's some other men that we know that maybe in our small group or in our community that, you know, you might be able to talk to. Have you considered asking them? See, notice how I'm phrasing. Have you considered asking them that?
Yes.
Or would you be open to us reading a book together about it? We can discuss it. Those are all soft approaches that kind of, you know, eases into it
Yes.
versus this is what you need to do.
And that he
Yes.
can hear. He's
Yes.
listening instead of shutting down his
Yes.
spirit immediately.
Because most men don't respond well to this is what you need to do, because it's
Right.
attack to our manhood.
And we don't either as women.
Yeah,
Right.
and I think we should be careful using that word need. I think need puts people on
Or
the
should.
defense, or should. You know, I've learned to use the open question a lot. Like, are you open to this?
Yeah.
And then the follow up after that is well, here are some suggestions. But before it was, here are the suggestions. Here's what you need to do.
I said should a lot.
And should
Yeah,
and need
yes.
to. And so asking questions has been a healthier approach for our marriage. And I pray that approach helps other marriages as well, because it allows also room for conviction.
Yeah.
Conversation, and then just an opportunity to love on each other. And if at the end of that conversation it doesn't end, all we can continue to do is pray for each other.
And I think let's talk about that a little
Well,
bit.
you got to let me answer.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Good,
Yeah,
honey,
let
I
me
know. I
answer.
totally want your answer because you're really good at this.
Yeah, see what she just did? She just forgot that I'm sitting over here.
No, I didn't.
No, I mean, I agree 100%. And you're a master at this. You weren't, but you are now. I think all of us thrive on encouragement. I think men especially thrive on encouragement. When we're encouraged, it's like we run faster. When we're criticized, we run slower.
That's
You know, like,
true.
hey, run faster. No. Hey, you're a good runner. Oh, watch this.
Right,
You know,
that's
you can
true.
watch it in boys. You can watch it in a 50-year-old man. It doesn't matter any different. So I think when you see him doing something right, jump on it. Like, way to go. I mean, the illustration we've said before is, one night after praying with the boys when they were probably 11, 12 years old, 3 sons in the same room, I'm walking out of their room and Anne's in the hallway and she goes, the boys hang on every word. You have such power. I'm like, what?
Aww.
She's like, when I lay there with them, they're listening to me, Mom, but as your dad, they hang on your words. Guess what? Next night I'm running in there.
Yeah.
Hey guys, let's
You
open
said
the
that
Word of God.
something similar to me.
Again,
Really?
Again, it wasn't I'm manipulating my husband to get him to do what I want. I think you were genuinely
No, I was
like,
asking God, show me, God,
know,
what he's doing well. And
I
right.
didn't even know the next night I'm running up there, but it's like, I was encouraged.
Yeah.
Hey, I did this well. My wife saw. So I think that, and again, it isn't a trick, but when you see him doing something good, even if it's a tiny little thing, encourage that,
That's
and he'll want to
good.
do more of that.
It's a soft approach.
That's good.
Yeah.
It is soft.
Yes.
It is.
Soft but effective.
And I don't think we can do it apart from Jesus.
Yeah. No way.
Like my flesh is so sinful.
It will get in the way every
and
single
so
time.
selfish, yes. But when I'm surrendered daily and I'm asking God, Lord, let me serve and see and love my family the way you would, it changes everything.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's that filter. Like we said earlier, we think, okay, we know we have a better solution, but that filter, the Holy Spirit, just slowing down. Should I say this? Is this the right time to say this? I love that you said you prayed, Lord, help me see the good in my husband.
Yeah.
And then maybe that's what comes out of our mouth after that surrendered approach.
And I've talked to women that they say, I can't say it. And I said, then text it. Start out texting it.
What do you mean they can't say the encouragement?
It's
Sometimes
harder than you
words
think.
are hard. Yeah.
I didn't grow up being encouraged. I mean, so it's hard for me to give it sometimes. I know I see it and I'm like, babe, you're doing I think it, but it has to come out some way. So I love that example of maybe just text it.
Yeah.
You've been done a lot better with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it helps.
I mean, our friend, we shared this before, Michelle, was sort of like, would you say she saw the negative and then she just decided, I'm going to start writing down in
We
a
would
journal?
walk all the time. We'd walk like 4 days a week. And it got into a point where we were complaining about our husbands. And I was going through this journey of God just convicting me and encouraging me to love Dave in a different way and to respect him in a different way. And so she got on that path with me. And so we were saying, what if we just change our whole attitude in life with our homes and our husbands and our kids?
Of course, Rob and I were praying that this would happen.
And they're best friends. Our husbands are best friends. And so words are easy for me to give. They had become, they weren't at first, but they weren't as easy for Michelle. And so she started a journal. And every time she would see him doing something right, she would journal it. And you guys know
love
this,
that.
but that changes our brain chemistry. We become more grateful. We see the things that are good instead of the negative. And
Yes.
before, she would be like, he never makes it to the soccer games on time. He's always complaining about this, or he's never doing this. And so she started writing it down, journaling it. And then she did it for the whole year, just periodically, not every
wow.
day, periodically. She gives him this cool leather-bound journal for his birthday. It's all wrapped. He sits down in the chair and he starts reading it and he never gets up. And the entire time he's crying, just weeping. And we just shared that not too long. Somebody on the marriage cruise that we just did, the Love Like You Mean It marriage cruise, she did that for her husband. She said the same thing happened. My husband read that and cried the entire time. And when we've asked Rob, why were you crying? Do you remember what he said?
No.
He's
I should remember this. I don't remember.
he just said, I feel like I'm constantly failing.
Yeah.
Right.
And her
Yes,
words, I
yes,
feel like
yes.
she was seeing things that I didn't even see in myself, and it made me want to become the man that she was writing about. And he said, I suddenly had this energy to want to become that guy. And I just think, gosh, we as women, we can miss that, of not seeing the great in our men and encouraging them. Because I know for Dave, that is like energy to his soul.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes you run home.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because men often, and I'm sure women do this too, but we tend to run away from the home because out there we're getting more applause to come home. But what if the most applause you got in your life was coming from your soft
so
wife?
Good.
Yeah.
So
You know,
good.
who saw greatness in you?
It's interesting because I recently shared on a YouTube video that I did where I just kind of
How many views did it get?
Well, this one got a lot of views because it was me opening up about my life and what was going on and how I was feeling in a variety of ways. And one of the things that I shared was just that sometimes I feel like as a father and as a husband that I'm failing, right? I know that's not necessarily true, but it's just kind of how I feel. And I finally tapped into why I feel that way.
Yeah.
It was primarily because growing up, because my parents were divorced at 6 years old, I never saw my father in the home as a husband, and I never saw my father in the home as a father. And I have a father, and he's phenomenal, and I love him, and he's great. But in terms of him being in the home every day, from 6 years old and on, it was
just
gone.
like you.
So I have grown up, never had anything to compare it to, right? So I'm always wondering, am I a good dad? Am I a good husband? Because I don't know what that looks like.
Yeah.
So I don't know what it looks like to, I have friends that had dads in the home and their dads would, always take them outside and, hey, let's wash car together, or hey, let's go out to show you how to tie a tie, or let me show you this, show you that. And they were just always present. But for me, that was gone at 6 years old. So my whole childhood, I'm like, I've never had a dad in the home, and I never saw how a father should love his wife. So I'm always questioning all the time, am I doing enough? Am I a good dad? Am I too busy with work and ministry? Am I spending enough time with them? And it's, for any other dads out there like that, it's helpful to get that encouragement.
Doesn't that soften your heart to hear that?
And you received the greatest compliment by Naya the other day. That's our 7-year-old daughter.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my goodness. Yeah. Well, we were sitting in the couch, and sometimes she just asks a lot of questions. She's at that stage where she's asking a lot of Bible questions, a lot of theology questions. And we were there for about 30 minutes. She was asking questions about who is God? How was he just there? Who created God, all this stuff.
That's deep.
Yes, because she's at the point where she's almost ready to give her life to Christ and get baptized and things. And so out of randomly the next day, she said, Daddy, I'm so glad that God gave me a daddy that can answer all of my Bible questions. And that just literally just made me melt right then and there. I'm like, wow, that's my role. Like, she appreciates that. I mean,
so
for her to say that was just really sweet.
I mean, Jennifer and Ann, is there a sense, because you're both married to husbands who had a similar no-dad life, does that affect you in any way? Like, I want to be ultra-sensitive, I want to be more encouraging, or is it something you think about, knowing that your man really didn't have a model?
It's actually helped me take a softer approach to him and we discovered this in counseling. I knew obviously that his parents got divorced when he was young, but I didn't understand that impact. It makes an impact even as an adult.
Right.
I thought, well, that happened when you were younger.
Because you didn't come from that.
I didn't come from that.
Me neither.
So, I mean, but now you have an opportunity. You have a blank slate. Just be a good dad, And I didn't realize that it's like, no, there's still...
You two are a little bit alike
there's
here.
Trauma. There's all these things.
It's trauma.
And it
It
helped
is.
me take a much softer approach to where all these areas that I'm like, I don't understand why he can't do this, can't do that, can't do that. That's what I'm thinking, right?
Or it doesn't come natural for me.
Or it doesn't come natural. Like, and I'll use just a soft example of like, I would leave maybe to go get my nails done or just to have some time alone. And I'd come back and I'd be like, what did you do with the kids? And like, I'm like, nothing. And I'm like,
Watch
so
football
do
by
I
myself.
have to
That's
tell
awesome.
you, do you not know what to do with your own kids when like you have them? That's what I'm thinking. And I maybe said that a couple times, but then I realized, of course, it wasn't modeled for him, And so I have a much more softer approach now if I come home and things, y'all have been having a good time, just however they have a good time. One, it's not my job to control, but he's being the best dad that he can be based on not only what he knows, but what he's learning. And guess what? It's fine.
Yeah,
It's
so that's where you
fine.
help me and say, well, maybe consider going on a bike ride with them, or maybe consider throw the ball in the backyard with your son.
And she
Yeah.
didn't
Play
say
catch.
you should.
I didn't say you should.
She said
But at
maybe
first
you
I'm
could
like,
Maybe
Consider,
consider.
right,
Or
right.
maybe Ann would say, maybe you could feed them. That's something you might want to do.
no, here's what I say.
I
Have
struggle
they
with that.
eaten? I just say,
Exactly.
have they eaten? Or when's the last time they ate?
yeah.
Oh, and
12 hours ago.
when you asked that
Yeah.
question, Like, do we have compassion and we understand that? No, I didn't. I was so self-centered. I was comparing him to my dad.
Yeah.
Right.
And that was just lose-lose situation for you. I think I've gotten softer too.
Yeah.
As we hear our husbands' stories, I think it's really good to ask our spouses questions about their past. What did it feel like when your dad left?
That's
like, did you
important.
ever see anyone model for you, a godly man or a godly husband or father?
I saw nothing.
And Dave didn't either.
neither.
Zero.
Yeah.
Nothing.
And you know what? We
Nothing.
probably never had that conversation for 20 years.
20 years, because we're
10 years for us, and we're just
And
digging
we're
into
just
it.
now
Yeah,
digging
you're
into
early,
it.
which is great.
Yeah.
We should have had that in our 30s.
I don't think I
You
even
know?
realized the impact.
You
And
didn't.
I mean,
I
I'll be
didn't.
50 years old this year. I don't even think I realized the full impact of how that experience, affected me until I'm like 49 years old. I'm just now realizing when the counseling session, I broke down and cried because I'm like,
that was
man,
powerful.
I don't have any model to compare this to. I'm just trying to figure it out as I go, Yeah.
Yeah, and the one thing I think when you say that, Alan, is when that's the reality of your spouse, and in this case, two husbands, and the wife is soft, and again, defining soft as humble, willing to lay down her life and wash his feet, and we go the other way, that draws us to the
Yes.
woman. That
Yeah.
draws us to, rather than, like it was for a long time. It's like, that was a long time ago. Get over it. You're a man now.
Right.
And I'm like, yeah, I'm trying.
Yeah.
I'm trying, but when
It's
you're
giving
like,
grace.
when there's
Yes.
that compassion, you
Yes.
are drawn to one another. It builds oneness.
Yes.
It's understanding that it is trauma. I mean, it would be like a man saying to his wife, well, I know you were abused when you were young, but that happened when you were 4 or 5
Right.
years old.
Right.
You're 40
Get over
years old. Now you should be over it. Like, there's certain things that take a long time to process, and you don't always understand how these things affect you, sometimes till many, many years later. And so I'm learning, as a loving husband, because there's been things, that in her life that she's had to overcome. And so it'd be the same situation,
Same
where I'm
situation.
like, well, hey,
Same.
honey, what's going on with this? This is something,
Yeah.
but it's like, okay, let me understand first.
That's it.
Let me enter into what your experience was so I can empathize.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it leads to intimacy, just in an intimate way, not a physical way, but just wow, like we see each other.
Yeah.
We see
We
each
know
other.
each
God
other.
sees us. We know each other. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think that piece is really big of knowing your spouse's timeline, of digging into the past.
Yes.
Once we have kids, we're just in survival mode.
That's
Amen.
true.
And so
Yes.
we don't have those conversations. But I think
That's true.
instead of sitting down, and we've done this a lot, like watching a great movie or Netflix or whatever, nothing wrong with that. But some of those nights sitting down and getting reacquainted, or maybe even getting into our history of what did that feel like when that happened to
That's
you.
good.
That's a great idea.
It's
a great
soft.
exercise.
Yes,
Yeah.
it is.
It's a
It
soft
is.
approach.
I never
Yeah.
thought I liked the word soft. Now I like it.
See?
Yes.
Not with my body. I'm getting in the gym, but
Yeah.
in our marriage and in our life, yeah.
Strength and humility. Maybe that's a good definition of softness.
Softness sounds better, but yes, strength and
We can
humility.
define softness as strength.
It is strength. It's power.
Yeah.
It's
Well, let
Strength
me-
and humility.
Let me end with this. The next time you're in Orlando, we're getting you on air. And the next time we're in Dallas, we're doing this again. You guys
We
are
love
awesome.
Yeah,
that.
this
We
is- this
love
is
that. I
great.
cried in this conversation. That was such
You
a
all are
powerful
always so easy to talk
story.
to. And
You guys
so
are.
great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for your vulnerability too, and thank you for your encouragement. And if you're a woman and you haven't listened to Jennifer's podcast, what's it called again?
It's called the Winning Women Podcast, where we redefine what success looks like, not the world's way, but God's way.
awesome.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed that interview, you don't want to miss any. We upload these every Saturday. You need to subscribe and you won't miss a single one. So subscribe now and we'll see you next week.